Welcome back to the Planet Doug podcast. And today I'm going to be reading a journal entry from Monday, October 28th, 2024. I started writing this journal entry at 8:02 in the morning in room 19 at the Hotel Malahayati in Tanjung, Balai, Sumatra, Indonesia. Journal post. What makes a YouTube video popular and entertaining? Today is my second full day in Sumatra and in Tanjung Balai. Yesterday was largely a rest day, and I will talk about that in a minute. And today will be a combination rest day and getting organized day. My main goal for today is to get set up with a SIM card and a working smartphone. I've had endless trouble with that in the past, ever since Indonesian customs introduced this new policy about needing to register the IMEI of your smartphone. And then this IMEI registration expires, and you can't use that phone anymore. I still don't understand the policy or the system, and I don't think local people understand it either. Everyone applies it differently and understands it differently. When I came through the dock on Saturday, I saw a big sign about it. And this sign said that if you are going to stay in Indonesia for less than 90 days, you don't have to register the IMEI of your phones. I think that was true all along, yet when I went to Telkomsel to get a SIM card, they automatically registered the IMEI of my phone anyway. They said they must do it, even if I was staying for only 30 days. And then suddenly my phone stopped working when the IMEI registration expired. I was told that I could never use that phone in Indonesia ever again. So I had to start using a second phone. And that phone's IMEI registration expired. And after that, when I ran out of phones, Telkomsel suddenly said that they could extend the IMEI registration. So they started extending it for a month or two at a time. It was all total chaos, and no one knew what they were doing. I don't know what the true situation is right now, and that hardly matters. What matters is what the local Telkomsel Grapari office thinks is the situation. They will do what they think the current policy is. The reality is irrelevant. Every company and every government office just makes up their own version of things. I found a Telkomsel Grapari office location here in Tanjung Balai. Oddly enough, it is located quite a distance outside of town. This hotel is already on the outskirts, and this Telkomsel office is 3 kilometers farther on. The plan is to go there this morning and see if I can sort out a SIM card and find out whether any of my phones can be used in the country. Indonesia is quite strict about protecting their economy. I saw an article yesterday saying that the new iPhone 16 is currently banned. I guess Apple was supposed to make some investments in the country in order to have access to the Indonesian market, and they were $14 million short of this investment goal, so the government just banned Apple products. They recently banned the big online store Temu from China. I think they banned TikTok's commercial store. They banned PayPal and restricted a whole bunch of other companies, such as Shopee and Tokopedia. The Indonesian government has protective policies across the board, whether it comes to economics, music, movies, TV shows, tourism, and much more. But getting back to yesterday, I spent the bulk of the morning here in my room, drinking coffee and writing down the story of my ferry ride from Malaysia. I enjoyed doing that, though at this point, I still don't know what to do with it. I started writing again with the idea that it will be included on Patreon. However, I'm still confused about Patreon and how or even if I want to set it up. I suppose that goes arm in arm with my current YouTube depression. I just don't know what to do anymore. I recently posted videos about going out in Dalat in Vietnam. I posted a video about walking through Dalat and going to the big square to watch all the activities there. I thought it was an interesting video, but nobody watched it. Then I posted a video about going to the night market. I thought it was an interesting video with lots of engaging content, but nobody watched it. And because these videos were shot in 4K at 50 frames per second and were quite long and large, they took forever to edit, export, and upload. It was a nightmare of time and effort to post those videos. But it was just a waste of time from a viewership point of view. I guess they're boring videos and nobody likes them. So my energy level for YouTube has diminished to the point of non-existence. I just have no inspiration at all at the moment. And if nobody likes my videos about my experiences, then what is the point of even having a Patreon? A Patreon makes sense if there is a base level of interest in what you are doing and what you are making, but in my case, there isn't. I still find that puzzling, but in a weird way. What I mean is that I totally understand why my videos are not enjoyable and nobody wants to watch them. If I look at them in a vacuum, I get it. They are long and they're not funny or entertaining. It makes sense that my videos would not be popular. I get it. However, I see videos on YouTube that are far worse than mine. They are far worse than mine in all the ways that mine are bad, yet they are super popular. These popular videos have no content. The people don't do anything or say anything of interest. I saw a video recently where an American went to Jakarta and he just wandered down some wide and empty streets and showed nothing and knew nothing and said nothing. He had the camera aimed at his face the entire time, and all he talked about was how he didn't know anything about Indonesia and didn't know anything about Jakarta and didn't know anything about what he was seeing around him. It was clearly a holiday of some kind, but as he said in the video, he didn't know what holiday it was and apparently couldn't be bothered to find out. It was a truly pointless video with no content, yet it got thousands and thousands and thousands of views and lots of comments. People found it engaging and fascinating, apparently, and I keep thinking that if a video like that can find an audience, then what is the problem with mine? I make guesses about what is wrong with my videos, but then I see those same things in other videos that are very popular. So it can't be the problem. Then what is the problem? Here in Sumatra again, my instincts are to continue with the same type of videos. I like to tell the story of my travels exactly as they happen. For example, I shot a lot of videos back in Port Dickson about putting my bicycle together and testing various camera mounting systems. I was documenting my life as I was preparing for this trip. But I decided to reserve those videos for Patreon. I've posted many videos in the past about preparing for trips, all the logistical challenges, and nobody likes those videos. So I thought I would shoot the videos anyway, but keep them as behind-the-scenes BTS videos for Patreon. And my instinct is to continue to document the realities of this trip. Therefore, I want to shoot video as I go to the Telkomsel office and try to get a SIM card. I want to shoot video as I get drinking water, as I get food, as I repair the screen over the bathroom window to keep out mosquitoes, as I rearrange the furniture in my room to get my bed farther away from the roar of traffic outside, as I do all the dozens of things you need to do as you travel in a country like this. I'm not interested in shooting some kind of highly curated fantasy about how wonderful and amazing the whole trip has been. In fact, to this point, from an objective point of view, the trip has been unpleasant and uncomfortable. It has been exhausting. It has been stressful. It has been frustrating. But that's okay. That's what all these trips are like. But if you make realistic videos about this, no one will be interested. They want to see the itchy boots approach, where the video begins with all the preparations already done. Her videos begin in the morning at the exact moment she starts the motorcycle engine and starts to ride. And then she quickly jumps ahead in time to show a beautiful drone shot of the countryside. She simply ignores everything else, and it's a wise choice, I guess. There is far too much work going on in the background to document everything. You have to pick and choose, and YouTube audiences want to see a fantasy about how wonderful everything is. At least that is what YouTube audiences in Asia want to see. They live here, after all. Anything I show in my video is old hat to them. What they want to see is a beautiful 5-star resort. A low-budget adventure with all the difficulties that entails is of no interest to them. Right from the beginning of my life of documenting my travels, whether in writing, in pictures, or on video, I thought it would be of interest for people to see a low-budget trip, a true classic backpacking story, and not the modern luxury style of travel. Even young kids today seem to have tons of money, and they fly around the world effortlessly and stay at fancy resorts and nice condos with infinity pools, and they have private cars to whisk them from the airport to their luxury accommodation. Then they pop outside to fancy restaurants and hire a grab car to take them everywhere. And they never have any problems. There is no language barrier because they stay in fancy resorts where everyone speaks English. They eat at fancy restaurants where the menu is in English. They have no problems with Wi-Fi or anything else, and they smooth out any problems with money. They do laundry in the machines that are inside their condo, or they pay the hotel to do it for them. On the opposite side of the spectrum, there are YouTube travelers like Backpacker Ben and Bald and Bankrupt, who prey on the human desire for sensationalism. They don't even try to tell a coherent story. They just show up in some random place around the world and walk around a neighborhood and claim that it is the most dangerous slum in that country and they could be killed, etc. Then they disappear and show up in some other country and claim that they rode on the most dangerous train or nearly got killed in an accident and on that country's roughest road. It's all lies and clickbait, but no one cares. People love them and their videos. From their videos, you have no idea how they got to that country. They tell no story. There is no beginning or ending. It's just random clickbait and wild sensationalism, but people love it. And I've noticed a pattern of another type of YouTube traveler. These people are nicer and more genuine than people like Backpacker Ben and Bald, and their videos are popular, but their videos are popular largely because they don't seem to know what they are doing, and they make so many mistakes. I've been watching the recent videos from a UK vlogger called We Hate the Cold. He set off on a long journey from Thailand back to the UK, and I guess his original idea was to do the whole thing by scooter, and he bought a Honda Trail 125. But then somehow he ended up deciding to do part of the journey by scooter and then switch to a pedal bicycle. I don't know why. He hasn't explained that yet, but I think it has something to do with the difficulty of getting the scooter through customs at various borders. His first videos were quite popular. They were full of adventure and good stories and humor. But what I've noticed is that the adventure stories all come from poor preparation and planning. People in the comments admire these people for their sense of adventure and overcoming all these obstacles. But the obstacles were all of their own making. The We Hate the Cold guy bought this Honda Trail 125 and then took it down muddy, rough roads where it didn't belong. What's so admirable about that? It's not like these countries don't have nice paved roads. They all do. But these vloggers take their unsuitable 125cc scooter down the roughest and most extreme backcountry roads. So, of course, the scooter gets stuck in the mud, breaks down, gets flat tires, and can't make it up the steep inclines and over the rocks. And then the video is very exciting because he had to deal with all these problems. But it was his dumb choice to bring that scooter down such an awful road in the first place. It was a selected problem, no different than if I decided to walk across Indonesia blindfolded. Sure, it would be difficult and lots of bad things would happen, but it wouldn't be admirable. It's just a dumb choice. He also got to a border where he was turned away because he didn't have the proper documents for the scooter, and then he lost his wallet and had no money and no bank cards and no credit cards. Plus, the bags and mounting gear on his scooter all broke because he bought cheap crap from Lazada. So the video was lots of fun, and he had to deal with all kinds of problems. Yet all of those problems were of his own making. It's just dumb to keep all your money and all your ID and all your bank cards in a wallet in a back pocket. Of course you're going to lose it and be in trouble, and that's exactly what happened. Anyone with any sense will put their ID and bank cards in a safe place, separate from everything else, and they will have money spread out in their bags and have an emergency stash of a few hundred US dollars in case of an emergency. This is all normal, but he didn't do any of that. And anyone with any sense will buy good gear that you know will be able to survive rough roads. But he didn't do that either. He bought cheap plastic garbage from Lazada, and it all broke right away. This guy also suffered from dehydration because he didn't bring enough water. He had trouble camping out because he had a brand new tent and hadn't even bothered to learn how to set it up before the trip started. The first time he took it out of its packaging was when he needed it on the trip. And that's just a recipe for disaster. What I'm saying is that there is this other class of YouTube adventurers who are very popular because their videos are entertaining with calamity after calamity. They get praised for overcoming so many difficulties. Yet all these disasters are a result of their choices and poor planning and poor preparations. Even Itchy Boots is in this category because practically her entire catalog of Africa videos consisted of her pushing her motorcycle through deep mud, deep sand, and over rickety bridges on jungle roads. But she deliberately chose those roads. It's not like it was a natural obstacle that anyone traveling through Africa will face. She could easily have chosen better roads. My video about getting my bicycle from Malaysia to Sumatra will be boring by comparison because I didn't face any calamities. I planned properly and packed properly and selected proper gear. My bicycle didn't break down because it is a durable bicycle and I maintained it. I didn't get a flat tire because my tires are high quality and I put most of the weight in the bicycle trailer. I didn't get lost because I knew where I was going and what to do. I didn't die of thirst because I made sure to bring enough water. I didn't lose any money or my bank cards because I kept them in safe places and in separate places, and I made sure to have local currency in advance. Anyway, I'm not sure how I ended up on this tangent. I guess I was talking about how I'm writing down my thoughts with the idea of putting them on Patreon, but having a Patreon only feels right if you are creating some kind of product that people find interesting or entertaining. And my confidence in my ability to make good YouTube videos is at 0% right now. I don't even know what kind of videos to shoot anymore. I make mistake after mistake and make poor choices constantly. And speaking of mistakes and problems, it's now time to set out to get a SIM card. Hopefully, this goes well. And that is the end of my journal entry for that morning. Yeah, not a very positive journal entry, and I'm happy to say that those kinds of moods about losing confidence in what I'm doing with YouTube and all the other stuff that I wrote about is not a constant thing. It's a mood that comes and goes, and I guess I was feeling that mood that morning. But clearly, I eventually got over that mood because I started shooting video again, and I just poured a huge amount of work and time and effort into making this Patreon and figuring out how to put it together. So, yeah, I think my personality can be a strange mix sometime of utter pessimism and utter optimism. So I can write a journal entry like that saying, there's no point making YouTube videos, and there's no point having a YouTube channel. Everybody dislikes my YouTube videos. And then right after I write all that down, I spend the entire day working on YouTube videos and working on Patreon. So I don't even listen to myself sometimes. But yeah, so that was my second full day in Sumatra, I guess. I had arrived on a Saturday, and on Sunday I spent the whole day writing in my journal and just relaxing and going out for walks in my neighborhood, shooting a little bit of video, but nothing major. And then I was waiting basically for Monday because the first thing I needed to do was get a SIM card. Well, not really get a SIM card. That wasn't the important thing. Getting a SIM card is easy. What I needed to do was get my phone unblocked or find out if I could get my phone unblocked, because I had two good smartphones with me and both of them had been blocked by Indonesian customs and I couldn't use either one of them. So I had to go to a telecom company, hand over my phones, let them look up the records online, and just find out whether or not I can get an extension on my email registration or they can do something else so that I can use one of these phones in Indonesia. And that was my main goal for the day. And as it turned out, I combined that errand with shopping for a kettle. And that's the whole day Monday. And I guess that kind of ties in with everything I was saying about YouTube and my style of videos, because I think people who are a lot smarter than me, for example, Nora Lee from Itchy Boots, and the guy from We Hate the Cold, and Backpacker Ben, and Bald and Bankrupt, all these YouTubers, they wouldn't dream of making a video about that boring stuff. Like Itchy Boots doesn't record any of that. She goes out to get her SIM card set up, to buy data, to get water, to get food, to get organized. She does all of the logistics in the background, and she generally does not record any of that on video. She starts recording in the morning when she's ready to go, and then she's doing something interesting and exciting. Now she's riding her motorcycle through mountains. Now she starts filming. And my first business day in Sumatra, I spent the whole day just running errands, going to a telecom company, getting my phone unblocked, getting a SIM card, buying data, and then I went shopping for a kettle so I can boil water in my room for coffee. It was all just daily life running errands, and yet for me, I love that sort of stuff as a story. It's part of the story. And in fact, I mean, it's a bit like an iceberg, I guess. That's a classic image that so many people use for so many. It's a great analogy. The idea is that you've got this iceberg floating on the ocean, and the piece of the iceberg you see floating above the water that looks so amazing and it looks so beautiful, and everybody's like, whoa, look at that iceberg. That's only 10% of the iceberg. That's what people say anyway. I don't know what the exact percentage is. 90% of the iceberg is hidden and is underwater. Only the top 10% is floating above the water. And a trip like this to Sumatra, or Nora Lee's trip on her motorcycle through Turkey, is exactly like an iceberg. There's 90% of your time is spent just doing preparations and working on logistics, and then 10% is the actual fun stuff. And somebody like Nora Lee, she shoots video of the 10% and she ignores the 90%. And my instinct is exactly the opposite. I don't have much interest in the 10%. My mind and my interest is more in the 90%, because the 90% is real life. It's true and it's genuine. But then when you make a YouTube video about the 90%, perhaps you end up with a video that is not exactly that entertaining or that popular. And thinking this through, in a way, that's one of the reasons I love this idea of Patreon so much, because it feels like I can do both. So in a YouTube video, maybe I can shoot video of the 10%, but then the Patreon, a journal entry like this, recorded on audio, here I have the freedom to record the 90% that I find more interesting than the glamorous 10%. So I really do like this idea of having a Patreon, and I have high hopes for it. It's so far, setting it up anyway has been a lot of fun. And as I'm recording this, I haven't even launched the Patreon yet. It isn't real. Nobody can sign up for it. Nobody can see or hear any of this stuff that I'm making. I'm just creating all this content so that there is something on the Patreon when I launch it. And while I'm creating all of this content, writing journal entries, doing audio podcasts, posting photographs, posting videos, I'm learning how Patreon works. And yeah, I'm learning a lot, but it is taking a long time to get all this set up, a lot longer than I anticipated. Anyway, that is where I will end this podcast for today. And I hope you enjoyed some of my stories there, some rambling about YouTube videos and what makes a YouTube video popular. I still don't know. I guess that kind of makes sense, because YouTube is a little bit like a window on all of humanity, right? It is a product of all of society, all of everybody from every country in the world is on YouTube. So whatever you're looking for, you'll find it on YouTube. So there's no way to say what is a popular video and what isn't, because there are so many categories, so many types of videos people can make. But hey, it is quite an interesting thing to do, a lot of fun. And as I've said to many people in person, I have found running a YouTube channel has been a lot more work than I expected, but there have been so many benefits. I'm so glad that I started a YouTube channel, and all of the benefits may not be the most obvious ones, and they include things like meeting so many people. Just having a YouTube channel has allowed me to have so much contact with so many people from all around the world, and that has by far been the best part of having a YouTube channel. And I'm hoping that a Patreon will just contribute to that and keep that trend going. So, thank you very much for hanging out with me, and I hope you enjoyed all my little stories there. I will continue this in the next episode of this Planet Doug podcast. I hope you come back, and I'll see you in the next one.